Hey there, this is a video response to fake Sagan. You don't know me, I'm sure. I've been on YouTube a little while making videos. I'm sure you haven't seen any of them. Nobody watches my fucking videos. But you know, it's YouTube. Like, there's a million, they'd rather watch two girls in a cup. I don't know your friend TJ. I'm always a little skeptical of somebody who calls themselves amazing. Yeah, this whole agree to disagree thing. I mean, look, it seems to me like you've reached a philosophical impasse with this guy that I just don't see how you're going to get past, because I don't think that he's, and I could be wrong about this, but I just don't see him coming around to seeing things your way, and for the same reasons that he's never going to convince the religious people that there's no God, because he's emotionally invested in certain myths. Just like, hell, man, when I was a kid and I grew up in this country, I believed a lot of that horse shit too. When everyone around you is saying the same thing, and all the books you read in school tell you the same thing, it's easy to believe, and that very repetition over time becomes persuasive. So if 5 generations, 10 generations of school kids learn that Columbus discovered America and he was just, a great adventurer, real professional, then that repetition becomes persuasive. And so myths like private property, everyone seems to believe in this myth of private property. And you say, well, what do you mean myth of private property? There is private property. People own property. Oh, do they? Do they really? They don't ever have to pay anyone? Like, they buy that property and it's just theirs forever without having to pay anyone? Oh, well, they have to pay their property taxes. Ah, yes, I see. And what happens if they don't pay their property taxes? That land is seized. So technically, who really owns the land? Whoever can make you pay is who really owns the land. So that's like one of the biggest myths in American society, or one of my favorites, that if you just work hard enough, that you will make it in America, that you will be, wealthy and successful. And if you're not wealthy and successful, then it must mean that you haven't worked very hard. And I've watched my parents work very hard most of their lives, and at the end of the day, really have very little to show for it. And then there's I've seen other people in society, I can't figure out what they do. They don't seem to be working very hard, or they work very hard at making terrible things, and they're very well paid for it. Reference Halliburton. So, the idea that there is a social class in America and that class conflict exists, is something that, when somebody's emotionally invested in the idea that it doesn't exist, they're not likely to come around to your way of thinking. I think this is my problem with a lot of the atheists in general, is they want to talk about what I consider a false flag and a bullshit issue. Which is, religion is the source of all our problems. It's like, yeah, well, you know what? It's been a long, long time since you were forced to pay tithes to the church. It's been a long, long time since any church has gathered up troops and sent them off to war. It's been a long time since, the church foreclosed on your property for not paying your church taxes. But who does all those things? Who forces you to pay them for your labor? Oh, you go out and get a job? Hey, got to pay us for that too. Want to buy something at a store? Got to pay extra money for that too. Who asks for volunteers to get sent off for war? Who will seize your land if you don't pay your land tax? Is it the church? No, it's the fucking state. I guess that's one of the reasons why I like your pragmatic approach as far as, the fact is that it took us thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years to arrive at the point where we're at now. Getting to someplace different is not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen probably in our lifetimes. That doesn't mean it's not worth working for in our lifetimes, despite the fact that we probably won't ever really see the fruits of our labor. I think our ancestors knew that what they were working for they weren't going to see in our lifetime, but we have seen it. And I mean, it's important to keep things in historical context. We have made some brilliant strides as far as the advancement of civil society. But as the old saying goes, our ancestors, they may have been giants and we may be small men, but we stand on the shoulders of giants and we can see further. And I don't think, personally, that a succession of ruling classes ad nauseum negates the possibility that we can live without a ruling class. But like I said, it's probably not going to happen in our lifetime, but that doesn't mean it's not worth working for. I'm probably preaching to the choir on that one here, but, just a few thoughts I had about it, thought I'd hit you up with.